No Limits Art Series, Orange, Green, and Blue Sparks Over the O. This recording features audio description, ASL interpretation, and captioning. On a stage, a woman walks with a yellow lab guide dog in front of a red curtain. She has the dog lie down. Words appear. Kathy Nimmer, No Limits Celebration MC.
My name is Kathy Nimmer. I was the 2015 Indiana Teacher of the Year and finalist for National Teacher of the Year. I'm also a graduate of Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. I recall an incident in college in a creative writing class when we went to an art museum in Chicago. The idea was to have each student be influenced and inspired by a piece of art and then write about it. My professor was anxious about how I would experience that field trip, and he had every right to be, because in general, those with visual impairments are not linked into the arts community very well. But it was actually the first painting where he took me where a little bit of the barrier was broken. He described this rectangular painting to me as solid black, thick, globbed-on paint, except in the top corner, a little bit of orange breaking through in a streak. I, at that point, was very much thinking about further vision loss that was going on during my college years, and something spoke to me about that almost solid black painting. No Limits is programming that is meant to break down the barriers in two different ways, really. Letting the students go out into the community and experience music and dance and sculptures and other artistic endeavors and encounters in a way where they can access and understand and appreciate the art that is behind all of that. So it is the pushing out and making accessible as well as the bringing in. No Limits seeks to bring people onto this campus, into this building and on the grounds, and into a much higher sense of awareness of what happens here at Isbvi. When we think of No Limits, we are thinking of changing the mindset of those out there who don't know what is happening here, at the same time as our own kids in this school realize that there is no limit for them when access is accomplished. By bringing artists to the stage who have similarities and commonalities to the kiddos who go to this school, by bringing in people who will gain more awareness and more confidence of the potential of those with disabilities, and by embracing the concept of no limits, we are changing the world. I think back to that painting, solid black with one streak of orange. And I think probably if I peeled back that paint, that globbed, gloopy black paint everywhere on there, I think there is a strong likelihood that there are all kinds of colors underneath. That little by little chipping away at that darkness, we would see so much breaking through. So many colors, so much possibility would join that orange streak. That's what No Limits is, peeling back so that those looking on will appreciate more, and so that those colors underneath will have their chance to shine. I want to show you my school. I want to show you the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And I want you to understand No Limits by walking through these halls and these grounds with me, and by meeting the people and learning about the programming that No Limits seeks to introduce. And at the same time, we hope these students will be ready to go into the world, into a new experience with the arts. We want you to know who they are and what is done here, so that the black painting with one little streak has another streak, and another, and another, and another, until we are all walking in a world where there isn't darkness, but there is hope and light. Welcome to No Limits.
Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired campus.
Hi, my name is Laura Alvarado. I'm the Executive Director for the Indiana Blind Children's Foundation. I have the opportunity to serve among 16 other board members, volunteers in our community, to raise funds and awareness each year for the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. Our purpose, our mission, is to ensure that students and children with visual impairments throughout the state of Indiana have everything they need to succeed both in school and in daily life. We invest in 5 areas here at the School for the Blind. That's arts and music, assistive technology, career development, family engagement, and health and wellness programs. The foundation was started in 1993 by the former superintendent of the School for the Blind, various community members, as well as parents of children with visual impairments. It was to serve to be a financial resource to the school to fill in gaps where the state budget didn't allow. The foundation started its support in academic areas and has since invested in areas that make sure that the entire child has the social, emotional, and academic support they need to thrive. The Indiana Blind Children's Foundation and the School for the Blind work together throughout the year to ensure students' success, not only here on our campus, but out throughout the state, benefiting approximately 450 children each year, ages 3 to 22. A big portion of what the foundation does, in addition to raising funds, is ensuring that our students' voice is heard in our community, working together to partner with community organizations to bring that voice to light to so many. Since 2019, the foundation, through Lilly Endowment support, was able to renovate this amazing auditorium. We brought in ADA specialists to help us devise a plan on how to make this space accessible while still respecting its architectural design. We integrated everything from Braille, live audio description, captioning, and ASL interpretation. All very important features that allow universal design, as well as bringing in an audience of people of all abilities, which is so important to our students and our community. In addition to the Isbvi auditorium renovation, the foundation was able to launch the No Limits Leadership Club, consisting of high school youth who work to ensure that their advocacy voice is strong and that they are able to tackle hard conversations. Part of No Limits is not only making the school more accessible, but also making our community more accessible. We've partnered up with 6 different arts organizations here in our city: the Idle-Jorg Museum, Heartland Film, Dance Kaleidoscope, Capital City Chorus, Art Mix, and soon-to-be Phoenix Theater. Our students are leading voices of change in our community. The students work hand in hand with leadership for a semester and then engage them in strategies that the students are voicing on ways that those organizations can become more accessible. As you hear this evening from Jim Durst, our superintendent, as well as our amazing teachers and students, you will learn about some of the various investment areas that myself and my board, as well as the IBCF community, support throughout the year. Thank you to our sponsors this evening who continue to support No Limits and this celebration. As we continue to grow, we hope you join us in our efforts to make Indianapolis and our community more accessible for all. We're excited to have you join us this evening and excited for tonight's support as well as future support.
Hello, I'm Tony Bader from the Robert and Tony Bader Charitable Foundation. After we sold our business in 2008, we created the foundation to work with organizations who deal in arts, sciences, and education. I've been involved with the blind community for over 40 years. When we lived in Detroit, I was certified in 3 languages to do recordings for the blind. Over 20 years ago, I became a certified audio describer for the blind and visually impaired, working mostly at theaters here in Indianapolis. And a couple of years ago, I brought in someone to train more audio describers, and we now have 14 new certified audio describers. And I've convinced several other theaters to offer the service as well. And then the pandemic hit. There's something about words and theater that are very, very important to me. And everybody should be involved, and everyone should know what the theater can offer. And I really hope that having more theaters and describers helps. There's something about abilities and capabilities that the blind community offers that is hidden from many people. So we are providing funding to the school, to the foundation, to bring their celebration virtually to anyone. And that will expand people's knowing about the capabilities and the abilities of these young students.
I'm Heather Herron, VP of Corporate Communications at Sweetwater Sound in Fort Wayne. As the country's largest online music instrument and pro audio retailer, we were thrilled to recently partner with the Indiana Blind Children's Foundation and the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired to create a high-quality venue that features inclusive technology. We are proud to support the No Limit celebration because it echoes our commitment to helping all people fully experience the joy that music and the arts can provide.
Hi, I'm Jim Durst. I'm the superintendent here at the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. I'm delighted to have this time to tell you a little bit about our school, our wonderful students, and our highly dedicated and committed faculty and staff that provide exceptional living and learning opportunities for the students that we serve. We got our start somewhat by happenstance in 1844 when a gentleman by the name of Mr. Ray attended a conference in Louisville, Kentucky. As part of that conference, they visited the Kentucky Institute for the Blind, and he came back to Indiana believing that Indiana needed to provide similar opportunities for students in Indiana that were blind or had low vision. So the legislature made the decision to open a school in 1847, and the original school opened its doors at a private residence on the southeast corner of the Maryland and Illinois streets. Unfortunately, after the first year, the proprietor of that facility decided to either double the rent or wanted to have the lease expired. A building was hastily erected on the site of the current war memorial, and the school opened its doors. This piece of property that we're currently housed on, September of 1930, we opened our doors here for the first time. The school originally was named the Indiana Institute for the Education for the Blind, and about the time the campus moved out here to its current site, the name was changed to the Indiana School for the Blind. In 2003, the name was expanded once again to the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired, as we serve about a third of our students have no vision or blind, and about 2/3 of our students have low vision.
Students paint.
We are responsible for providing the same educational experiences and opportunities for our students as those students in the public schools would receive. So in addition to core curriculum, we also provide educational curriculum in vision-specific or the expanded core curriculum. It's the home away from home for many of our students, as we serve students exclusively from Indiana, but from the far reaches of the state. We frequently refer to ourselves as a large family. We are one of, if you will, and maybe the smallest school corporation, but not really a corporation in the state. We have the ability to learn more about each other and learn more about our students than I think many schools do. We are frequently referred to as one of Indiana's best kept secrets. I am frequently told by individuals who drive past the campus, I've driven past your school for 35 years and I've always wondered what was behind the gates. We want folks to see what's behind the gates. And while the challenge we have is certainly keeping our students safe, we also want to share our wealth and share what we do and share how we do it.
I'm Matt Pelcer. I host mornings on 92.3 WTTS. The partnership that we've had with the Indiana Blind Children's Foundation and the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired goes back a number of years. And last year, I know we helped to secure ex-ambassadors for the virtual gala. And that's a perfect fit, obviously, because Casey, the keyboardist of ex-ambassadors, is visually impaired as well. And that was a big success. It's important for us to be involved just because we're community partners. For us to be involved in any way is extremely important to us, and it only makes sense.
At an arboretum, animal figures stand in flowers. Stacked clay pots fill metal racks. Plants fill shelves. Cayenne.
So this is the scented geranium. It's like a scratch and sniff plant. Like you can just rub the leaves, and then when you smell your finger, a scent rubs off.
ISBVI student.
And it's like fuzzy too, and you feel it has like a good soft texture to it.
On tables, leafy green plants sit side by side. Succulents rest on a top shelf.
My name is Kyan. I'm 15 years old. I'm a freshman at Isbvi. This is my third school year I've been attending.
My name is Elizabeth Garvey, and I am the horticulture teacher and grounds consultant here at the Indiana School for the Blind. I have 6 classes a day that come out to the greenhouse, and those primarily are middle school and high school students. We have a horticulture science class that Kyan is involved in, and then we also have landscape management.
Outside, plants sit in wooden plant beds.
What I see the purpose of this program is just exposure and enrichment. We have a Shakespeare garden, an alphabet garden, a butterfly garden, lots of different pocket gardens on campus, lots of trees that we've planted over the years, and those trees need maintenance.
A plant tab, Blue Danube, Stokes Aster. Kyan follows Elizabeth to
I
plants.
think it's important for students who can't see all this natural beauty and are curious about it, then they might not even know it's there. I feel like it's my role to introduce them to the world of plants and green and how important they are and integral they are in our lives. And we also work on work skills and team building skills, and work skills are very, very important. And as a matter of fact, Kyan has a job at the greenhouse. He just started.
I've got connected to plants a lot more than I did when I was young. Like, I wasn't really affected with nature. I didn't really care about it. All I did was sit inside. But when I came to this school, I met Miss Garvey, and she showed me everything like I love about plants now.
Kyan rubs leaves between his fingers.
She's told me the colors, she told me how they react, she told me how to propagate them, she showed me everything I might use in the future to take care of my own plants. I think it gets students more connected to the outside world, and it helps them know how to take responsibility, like watering plants, making sure they're watered the right, and make sure they're not outgrowing their pots.
I think that this program is a safe haven for a lot of students. They are the future, and I want them to appreciate plants and the natural world and enjoy being in it and growing those plants. It's just going to be a wonderful avocation for them.
Among the leafy plants, pink orchids grow from a raised pot.
I'm Stephen Tyler, and this is Brittany Creer. We're the co-founders of MAP Solutions, an Indianapolis-based strategic initiatives firm focused on helping organizations identify new opportunities and solve complex challenges. In partnership with the Indiana Blind Children's Foundation, we're helping to create a new approach for how students at the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired will access technology and learn the critical skills needed to live in a digital world.
But this partnership is more than professional for us. It's personal, especially for me. My daughter Zoe attends ISBVI as a kindergartner. Like any parents, we sought out the perfect fit for her educational journey, and after trying out several different places, landed here at ISBVI. I can tell you without a doubt, as her mother, that this is the perfect place, and we're eternally grateful for the staff for the experience that she's had here. Please join us in supporting No Limits and learning more about the work that we're doing in partnership with the Indiana Blind Children's Foundation and Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired at mapsolutions.com/ISBVI. That's MAPT solutions.com/ISBVI.
In a studio, a sign, WJEL 89.3, The Jam. A masked man dons headphones.
Stand by, Caleb, and you're on.
The Wild Man here on JE9. Let's go to Tiesto with The Business here on JE9 WJEL, The Jam.
My name is Caleb. I've been going to ISBVI since preschool, actually. I have glaucoma and aniridia. Basically, the reason why I can't see, there's scar tissue on basically the lens of my eye. I've been doing music and sound production class for, this will be the second year. It's usually a 2-year class. I'll go on there for probably, I don't know, between 30 minutes to no longer than an hour. Basically, I'll just do like live DJing for, that period of time.
You want to go to a public service announcement next?
My name is Rob Hendricks, and I am the music and sound production teacher in the Digital Media Arts Department here at J. Everett Light Career Center. J. Everett Light Career Center has had a great partnership with the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. What we do in our class is teach kids high-level audio production skills.
Caleb plays a keyboard.
So in our class, students learn how to record music and record it well, mix and process audio for the songs that they enjoy producing. I'll tell you, the biggest change I've seen in Caleb is interpersonally, in terms of his communication skills. He and I can have good conversations about music, about life. But I think when it comes to our classwork, he's really progressed as a musician.
Caleb taps drums.
He was rough when he came in here last year, but he was already very passionate about what he does. And he's just gotten better and better at especially playing the keyboard, but he can also play guitar and play drums very well also.
Whenever I'm looking up things to talk about, whether it be like a basketball game or whatever, I can use this refreshable braille display. I use a refreshable braille display every day to basically just write papers and read. It will pair to a device as long as it has a screen reader to it, and whatever that screen reader says, basically it'll pop up on here so a blind person is able to read what that is also saying. It's given me the same opportunity as a sighted person to be able to go to a school and be able to basically get the same diploma as a sighted person going to a public school.
Caleb draws his fingers along a braille display.
My name is Erin Roush, and I am the Assistive Technology Coordinator at Isbvi. Assistive technology is any type of equipment or software that is going to help someone with a disability overcome a challenge. Anyone that has a challenge, someone maybe who had a stroke, would also use assistive technology. So it's not just for blind visually impaired people, but really anyone who needs to level the playing field. I think specifically for someone who is blind or low vision, it opens the world. It really does. When determining what device would fit best with a student, we look at the student individually. What is the need? What is the outcome as well? So is the student needing something for reading or writing? Is the student going to become a Braille student? Is it better to do a low vision device? So we really have to look at the student, and then we have a committee that discusses what's best for the child and what the outcome is, which for us is learning and being able to be literate and then eventually independent. The technology we have now, we can take our phones to a store and scan items or read labels. We're able to be more independent as far as just going shopping, let alone what it's opened up for people professionally and educationally. Books, whether it's for school or leisure reading, emails, doing your bills, something you don't think about. Bills don't come brailled. And so there are different devices and applications we can use so that people can become more independent.
I'm Jeffrey Mittman, President and CEO of Bosma Enterprises. Bosma Enterprises is the largest employer of people who are blind or visually impaired in the state of Indiana. And our mission is to provide opportunities for those people who are blind or visually impaired. And we do that through the sale of products and services to the federal, state, and local customers. Bosma Enterprises is an authorized distributor and reseller and installer of Blind Square, which is an internal GPS system that allows people who are blind to move about independently. And we worked with the Indiana School for the Blind or Visually Impaired to install that here to allow their students that same access to the world. Our mission at Bosma Enterprises is to provide opportunities for people who are blind and visually impaired, and that's why we're proud to sponsor the No Limits celebration here at the School for the Blind.
On a sidewalk, a student walks with a cane.
My name is Jessica Hunt. I am an orientation mobility specialist here at Isbvi. An orientation mobility specialist teaches cane skills. It's teaching the kids how to be more independent in their lives, how to get around to their classes in the school independently. Typically, we will start with teaching the kids basic cane skills, like the constant contact, 2-point touch, diagonal trailing. Constant contact is where you have the cane that is constantly touching the ground. Right? And then 2-point touch is when you have the cane tapping on either side of you, and it comes about 1 inch above the ground. You would typically use that in outdoor situations. We will then progress into like a neighborhood setting to walk down sidewalks, cross neighborhood streets when there's no vehicles around.
The student walks along a row of shops.
Then we progress to the broad ripple area where they have to cross when lots of traffic is present. Blind Square is an app that you can pay for and use it out in the community. As you're walking along, they will announce various points of interest around you. It will not only tell you where it is, but how many feet you are away at which clock face direction you need to face to get specifically to that destination.
Address is 724 Broad Ripple Avenue, Indianapolis, heading southwest. Destination Huntington Bank. 63 feet at 12 o'clock.
So this is just a way for them to be more independent. They're not just so reliant on just us to tell them what's around them.
Elevator on the right. Next right elevator stairs, followed by the library on the right.
So at the school specifically, we have beacons that we have programmed ourselves, specifically used words and verbiage that the students know from getting from one point to another.
Circulation desk, shape for more details.
So it's really helped a lot of our new students that have started. They're able to use that free app version of it to find out where they are, because our school is so big and sometimes a little confusing if you're not used to it.
My name is Samantha, and I've been at this school since 2016. It's important to me because it helps me be more independent. It helps me be more safe when I travel.
On the stage,
Hi, my name is Makaya, and one of the things I've learned in choir is that I don't have to be afraid to show myself and who I am. I will be singing Amazing Grace tonight. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Makaya, that was sensational. Thank you for sharing your gifts. Makaya is just one of many students at ISBVI who we want to step into a future of no limits. And that is a perfect transition to our featured performer tonight. No Limits, in part, brings artists to this very stage who mirror the experiences of the students at ISBVI and who also happen to be immensely talented like our performer tonight. You are about to hear from a multi-instrument, multi-talented artist who will just take your breath away. This man has performed at concerts and in festivals throughout the world, and he has played in front of a packed Carnegie Hall. I am thrilled to introduce you to Jerron Blind Boy Paxton.
Pre-recorded in April 2021.
This is a lovely song, if I do say so myself.
Jerron Blind Boy Paxton, performing in the auditorium at the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Oh, that Mississippi bottom filled with mud and clay. Oh, that Mississippi bottom filled with mud and clay. Oh, that Mississippi woman stole my heart away. Well, if you don't want me, you got no right to stall. Baby, you don't want me, got no right to stall. I can get me more lovers than a passenger train can haul. 'Cause it takes rocks and gravel to build you solid road. It takes rocks and gravel to build you solid road. Take you a great big engine who will carry you a heavy load. Take you a great big engine, carry you a heavy load. When I was in California, I was doing just as I pleased. When I was in California, doing just as I pleased. When I got way out here, they said, boy, you got to work or leave. I'd rather wash my face in the Gulf of Mexico, East River. I'd rather wash my face in the Gulf of Mexico. That Hudson a little too muddy. I'd rather eat my dinner 1,000 miles below. Anyone I love, oh, so far away. Now the one I love, oh, so far away. And the one I hate, got to see her every day. She asked for college, bring me turnip green. While I ask for collard, bring me turnip green. When I ask for a little sugar now, she bring me gasoline. In the Mississippi bottom, filled with mud and clay. Ah, that Mississippi bottom, filled with mud and clay. Oh, that Mississippi woman stole my heart away. Thank you, friends.
Jerron lifts a to-go cup.
That is a song about moving to New York City that has been cleverly disguised so as to make money.
He drinks.
From people who have it. And from some people who don't. If you ain't got money, I'll take red beans, rice, backbone. Boudin, etouffee. you, friend. That was a little music from Louisiana to go along with the red beans and rice, the neck bones, and the coubillon. I'll play you a little Zydeco. Y'all know what Zydeco is. It's a little bean, snap peas, you know.
He reaches in a guitar case.
And when you snap peas and skin catfish to get over the smell, you sing. Oh, the old hen cackle and she cackle mighty loud. Oh, last time cackle had to cackle in the pot. The billy goat jump in the bumblebee pants. The little sow whistle about a big pillow dance.
He drops the sticks in the case, then grabs a harmonica case.
Thank you, friend.
He taps the harmonica on his leg.
Now.
He lifts a banjo.
I regret to inform you that you may not be as entertained as you usually would. There's a set of music you play to be professional. And there's a set of music you play for yourself. Well, this is the first time in 8 years I got to sit around and play nothing but music for myself. So I will annoy you with some music that I will never get paid to play. Drastically unpopular music, but I likes it.
He sets the banjo on the case.
Thank you, friend. I'll play you, what shall I play for the people on the fiddle? I'll play you a little Irish number filtered through 300 pounds of black man. So it's gonna come off a little different, you know. It's a 300-pound filter is a heavy filter. I might throw something else in there. We'll see if my color can stay down. That got a little raggedy towards the end. I started enjoying myself too much. It's funny how that happens. Let's see. I got out of order. That was a little Polish mazurka that I can't think of the name of. Song from Scotland, The Girl I Left Behind Me. Song from Ireland, The Boys of Blue Hill. And a song from Indiana, The Dusty Miller, which I learned from my buddy Frank George of West Virginia, which he learned from his great friend John W. Summers, a great fiddle player here in Indiana, one of the greatest fiddle players ever, from right here. Ha! And I should not play something that I have to breathe in after doing that. So, I'll play you one of the saddest songs I know. Sorry to depress you, but it must be. It must be so. Wait, how much time do we have?
He eyes a watch.
We'll see. Oh. You made it. This song is called Poor Benny. This song is about what happens when you don't do what you're supposed to do. Sometimes when life gets hard, you want to shirk your responsibilities. Because sometimes you think they don't affect anybody but you. But we all connected to each other. And sometimes when you let down your responsibility, you can end up badly affecting the people around you. This song is about poor Benny, and his little sister, or big sister, is supposed to be the one singing this song to try to get Papa to come home and meet his responsibilities. But Father figures he's got plenty of time. Time, ironically, is the only currency we have in this universe. So we got to be very careful about what and who we spend it on. Poor Benny's Papa might end up wishing he spent more time with Benny. Papa, dear Papa, come home with me now. The clock in the steeple strikes 1. You said you'd be coming straight home from the shop as soon as your day's work was done. The fire's gone out and the house is so dark, and Mother's been watching since tea. With poor brother Benny so sick in her arms and no one to help her but me. Come home, come home, come home. Dear Papa, come home. Come home, come home, come home. Dear Papa, come home. Papa, dear Papa, come home with me now. The clock in the steeple strikes 2. The house has grown colder, poor Benny, he's worse, and he has been calling for you. Indeed, he is worse. Ma says he'll die, perhaps before morning shall dawn. And this is the message she told me to bring. Come quickly or he shall be gone. Come home, come home, come home. Dear Papa, come home. Come home, come home, come home. Dear Papa, come. Papa, dear Papa, come home with me now. The clock in the steeple strikes 3. The house is so lonesome, the hours so long for poor weeping mother and me. Indeed, we're alone. Poor Benny, he's dead and he's gone with the angels of light. And these are the very last words that he said. I want to kiss Papa goodnight. Come home, come home, come home. Dear Papa, come home. Come home, come home, come home. Dear Papa, come home.
He sets the banjo in the case. He grabs the harmonica.
Santa Fe. The TP. The Texas Midland. The T-Model Ford. I ain't paying no attention.
Jerron reaches in a hat on the floor.
Thank you, French.
He pulls out the harmonica case.
That is a little tune called The Muscle Shoals Blues. Now,
He grabs the guitar.
give the blues a chase. Find a sunny place. Go and paint your face with a little bit of sunshine. Pay your doctor bills. Toss away his pills. 'Cause you can cure your ills with a little bit of sunshine. That's if you take your teardrops one by one before it is too late. Why don't you hang them up out in the sun so they evaporate? And when your troubles start pounding at your heart, just rub that injured part with a little bit of sunshine. Give the blues a chase. Find a sunny place and go and paint your face with a little bit of sunshine. Pay your doctor bill. Toss away his pills. 'Cause you can cure your ills with a little bit of sunshine. That's if you take them teardrops one by one down before it is too late. Why don't you hang them up right in the sun now so they evaporate? And when your troubles start just pounding at your heart, just rub that injured part with a little bit. Just rub that injured part with a little bit of sunshine. Song about the weather. Vitamin D is not sunshine. You cannot take sunshine in pill form. Go out and get you some while it's still free. I went to England and I saw all these little houses that was all the windows was bricked up. Turns out they used to tax sunlight. So people bricked up all their windows so they would get taxed too much. That's terrible. Today is the birthday of Mr. Scott Joplin. Scott Joplin is one of the foremost American composers. His songs, especially his Maple Leaf Rag, ushered in the ragtime era, which went around the world. His most famous song is the Maple Leaf Rags. Not his first song, but it's his most famous song of 1899. The first recording of it was by a military band. The second is from the great banjo player Wes Osmond of New York. The best, I think, is by Mr. Fred Van Epps when he's pushing 80. So I'm gonna do my best to render the world famous Maple Leaf Rag. Don't need no introduction, but that ship has sailed, struck an iceberg, and been sung about. I wish one of y'all could play the piano.
Jerron sets the banjo in the case.
Thank you, friend.
He checks his watch.
I think I should play a little piano.
He stands and walks around a grand piano to a bench.
I don't need your photograph to keep by my bed. Your picture's always in my head. poetry, dear, to bring you to mind, for sleeping or waking, dear. I find the very thought of you, and I forget to do those little ordinary things that everyone ought to do. I'm living in a kind of daydream where I'm happy as a king, and foolish though it may seem, but why to me that's everything. The mere idea of you, the longing here for you. You'll never know how slow those moments go till I'm near to you. I see your face in every flower, and your eyes and stars above. It's just the thought of you, the very thought of you, my love. Idea of you, the longing here for you. You'll never know how slow those moments go till I'm near to you. I see your face in every flower, and your eyes and stars above. It's just the thought of you, the very thought of you, my love, my love. It's just the thought of you, the very thought of you. Thank you, Fred. Michigan water tastes like cherry. I mean cherry, cherry wine. Oh, that Michigan water tastes like cherry wine. Oh, but that Mississippi water, it tastes like turpentine. Well, I'm in Mississippi and I got mud all in my shoes. My love in Louisiana got them high water blues. Oh, that Michigan water tastes like cherry wine. Oh, but that Mississippi water tastes like turpentine. Let me be your weebler until your wobbler come. If your weebler beat me wobbling, you got to wobble some. Oh, that Michigan water tastes like cherry wine. But that Mississippi water tastes like turpentine. Come here, baby, how do you do? I'm doing all right, baby, how are you? I'm all right, I just been drinking that Michigan water. It tastes like cherry wine. Oh, but that Mississippi water, it tastes like turpentine. I'm gonna go out tonight, get tall as a kite. Cause what I do in the dark gonna look terrible in the light, drinking all that Michigan water, and it tastes like cherry wine. Ah, but that Mississippi water tastes like turpentine. I'm gonna sing one last verse that I don't want a soul to miss. Drinking all this Mississippi water, I got to run outside and shut your mouth, boy. Oh, that water tastes like cherry wine. But that Mississippi water tastes like turpentine.
Jerron stands and bows. He exits the stage.
Jerron, that was absolutely sensational, and I just feel the rhythm still, and I feel the magic of it, and I hope all of you do too. We had the awesome opportunity, Jerron and I, to talk and to go deep into his musical background, his experience as somebody with low vision, his commitment to presenting stories and culture and history that will hopefully lift up all of the people who get to experience his particular musical abilities. Let's switch now to the interview where you get to hear more from Jerron. What a great opportunity today to talk to Jerron Paxton. Jerron, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Kathy. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I think I'm gonna just be really cliche and start where the normal interviewer would start and ask you a little about your background. So where were you born? Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like?
I was born in South Central Los Angeles, a place where that was settled mostly by people from the Gulf of Mexico, people from Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi. And I am of that culture. I eat that food, I speak that language, and I play that music. And my childhood reflects that. My taste in music and aesthetics reflects that. And me taking tradition on board, I think my elders always could look at me from the youngest of kids, from a baby until I was gonna be some sort of a tradition keeper. And I don't know, in modern times, it seems like being a tradition keeper is countercultural. So, you know, this is me, I guess I'm being rebellious by being myself. I'll take that.
So who were those elders in your life who made early impressions on you? Grandparents or people in the community? What was that like?
Yeah, well, both. Everybody in the community, you know, we all hung out pretty closely. When I grew up in the early 90s, it was a bit of a rough place out there. So I kind of had to stay close to home. So there wasn't too many places I could go, but I had great neighbors. I don't know whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, but they were all at least 60 years older than I was. So I didn't, besides going to school and hanging out with the kids there, most of my true friends, the people I would want to see all the time, were of the silent generation. And, you know, some of them were a little bit older than that. So by the time I was 9 or 10 years old and started hanging out with other kids, I already had a personality. And, you know, I even had teachers at school say, "Who is this little old man these ladies is bringing to school," you know?
Jerron, I call that old soul, and of course that's not my own term, but I have some younger teachers who I mentor who have that old soul too. You know, they just that gravity and depth about them. I love that, and some of my best friends in life have been several decades older than I am.
I think you gain this certain maturity and understanding from hanging out with those people. It stops you from reinventing the wheel. You know, you can stand on somebody's shoulders with elderly people around you.
So did they inject your interest in music, or how did that happen?
I wouldn't say that so much. They were definitely a factor in why I liked it, because even from the earliest days, the first time I heard music I liked, one of the reasons I could cite is because it sounds like the people who raised me. Nobody around the house played music except to listen to records, and they had some great records. But I was, even then, always interested in the little older material. You know, my grandma listened to the blues all day, and I'd run and record anything that I heard was acoustic, and I didn't know what the word acoustic meant, the difference between the guitars. I just heard what I like and jumped on it that way for the reason I just said. It reminds me of the folks that raised me.
So did you ever step in as a child into like formal music lessons, or was this all self-discovery, or how'd you go that way?
back in my day, since I'm so old, yeah, you know, back in the 1900s, we didn't have no internet, you understand? So I remember looking up violin in the encyclopedia, which is now something you have to look up on the internet what an encyclopedia was. But I looked it up, and it didn't seem real. You know, it sounded like black magic. You know, my folks from Louisiana, so when somebody tells you, you know, you can take this hairy stick and rub it on this box with these F-holes carved on it, and you can move people emotionally, I say, that sounds like gree-gree, you know. That sounds like, that's some hoodoo for sure. And I just got fascinated by it for a couple months, and the bug just bit me, and I asked my folks to get me one. They were insisting if I got one, I'd have to take lessons. And I said, that's exactly what I want, and that started me on my journey. I moved from one instrument to the other. Fiddle was rough. I wasn't so good at it at first, so that's why I switched to the banjo pretty soon after.
So violin led to what? How'd that play out for you?
Violin led to the banjo. And you know, that was more so because I was a better hand at the banjo than I was at the violin. So when I played the instrument, I could get some chords on. We had a ball. But there's something about certain types of banjo music that get people, especially black people from rural areas, it makes their ears perk up. And, you know, I think some of it might be through Hollywood and TV, but, you know, anywhere I go in a black neighborhood and play, you know, the ballad of Jed Clampett, the theme to the Beverly Hillbillies, people go berserk. And, you know, between playing Jimmy Reed and Earl Scruggs, I could have made a living staying in South Central, you know.
So do you do a lot of your music thinking about the effect that it will have on your audience?
Yes, I think that's a big part of being a performer, especially a performer in this genre where you have certain opportunities. Because if I was in the type of music where you'd have to print a program in advance and stick to that, I don't think I'd have the same connection to my audience that I do now. Because right now, I go on stage and I kind of gather, I listen to what's happening before me and kind of gather the mood of the audience, what they want to hear. And as we go along, I kind of tailor my set to that. You know, certain audiences want more blues. Certain audiences want more country music. Certain audiences want more jazz. Certain audiences want more storytelling. So depending on what mood the audience is, you know, you kind of have to adapt your set on the fly. But that leads to some great connections, because whenever I find the thing that get people clapping the loudest or the most attentive, you know, in the most devout silence, those are the things I keep going on until eventually the tension's got to break and you got to play them something to make them laugh and smile and forget how serious things are.
So there's a real relationship between you and your audience that sounds absolutely essential to your joy as a performer.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's why playing for live streams and things like that is a little bit tough for me, because without that connection to people, same goes with recording. Without somebody to play for and to see how they react and see if there is a connection, it's sometimes it could lose its meaning. But then that leads you down the path of having to find new meaning in those projects.
So when you're playing and performing and telling your stories and all, and someone's in your audience who is not from your culture, whether that's your ethnicity or whether that's your Louisiana roots or whatever way you want to look at that, are you hoping that they're entertained and they learn, or what's your goal for that audience member?
Most of what I worked on is trying to find this connection to people and try to find the universal things. Try to find the things that no matter what culture you're from, you'd understand. And music is a great catalyst to that, because music is you know, an international language that I can explain things to people by playing a song that I don't care how articulate I try to be. I can never word it quite right, you know.
But you do use words too, right? So because you've mentioned storytelling. So what's that like? If I went to one of your performances, what kinds of stories would you be telling?
Well, most of the time that I play music that gets a little deeper rooted down in the culture, it takes a lot of explaining. Well, I won't say a lot. I won't say a lot. I try to be as concise as possible and not turn a concert into a lecture, you know. But when you're dealing with deep parts of Black American culture, there's a lot of double entendres involved. And I guess double entendre can sometimes be a little bit vulgar. But in the practical sense, saying one thing and meaning another is how we survived our oppression most of the times. And a lot of that goes into music. A lot of the songs are coded, and a lot of people don't know what certain parts of these songs mean. So a lot of time I get to explain these things to people, and they sometimes you have to do it flat out. And I really enjoy concerts where I get to do that. I really enjoy the quieter concerts where I get to express that to people so they'll know why I'm singing these songs and why they're important to me.
I do want to take a minute and talk about vision loss a while here. So when I was looking at your bio, you know, Jerron, blind Boy Paxton, right? That's something, a term that you use. What's your vision story?
My trouble began to be noticed when I was about 17. And, you know, I had trouble, you know, for over the course of a year, I had trouble recognizing faces, and, you know, people got a little more distorted closer and closer up. You know, my acuity sort of went down. All things I thought could be fixed with glasses. And then at the age of about 17 or 18, through my school had a work-study program, and I was scheduled to work at the Braille Institute, a place I loved, and, you know, it's great musicians around there and great artists and things like that. And as I stayed there, people would bring up people with low vision, which doesn't really get talked about in the visually impaired community. I won't say that, outside the visually impaired community. People don't really understand low vision people. And, you know, just like everybody else who doesn't understand low vision people, I say, doesn't seem like anything's the matter with you. And say, oh, no, I don't have any, yeah, I have tunnel vision. And say, what does that mean? And I started asking around, saying, well, I see like that. You know, having these things. And I reconnected just recently with my next door neighbor, who was a great friend of mine. And we talked about meeting, and he brought up the fact, he said, I remember when I first met you, and you was this kid walking around always looking down. And he said, and that stuck out to me. And I said, yeah, I suppose I was. And then I started recalling times I ran into people and all that, almost knocked down my grandmother. And she said, boy, you need to play football because you almost took me out, you know. So it probably started a lot earlier than 17. Because like most of my friends said, ever since I was little, I was always looking where I was going, particularly carefully, and, you know, always an awkward kid. I put it off on being awkward, bumping into things all the time. And slowly these things started to get realized, and for a long time, for a few months, I kind of wouldn't accept it. Just like, nah, I'm not in that camp. And then I almost got into a really bad accident driving a car. It was and I never drove legally, so don't tell nobody about that. But I almost got in this terrible accident, and that's when I kind of had to accept certain things. And my mother remembers that day. She said I was real shook up looking, and I set the keys on the table and said, "That's it, I'm done." And, you know, got training through the state of California and things like this, but even that's a little funny sometimes. They don't really understand low vision people, I think, either. I think it takes an institution like Schools for the Blind that really understands people that are in between, you know.
Does your limited vision affect anything about your performances?
Not so much, because, you know, once I'm on the stage, I've kind of put a little world around me. I know I got my instruments around me. Most of the time, I play with my eyes closed. One, because those lights are bright, and two, it takes a lot of concentration to do certain things. And especially when things are noisy and they're distractions, you really have to focus on sound.
I bet you are, in some way maybe you've never been aware of, more in tune to the sounds in your audience, the reactions that are giving you that feedback. I wonder if you're more in tune to that because of the limited vision.
I wonder, because like I said earlier, I really try to pay attention to what gets the audience listening. And a lot of times I focus on the sound of attentive listening. And whatever I'm doing that has got people's attention, I try to hold that as long as I can, because, you know, that's how you tell that your audience is really gripped, that you've got them, and that there's a connection. And, you know, that's a big part of music, is playing it for other people and going, does this sound as good to you as it does to me? Am I wrong, or does this sound right? You know, so I think maybe. You know, I was telling Laura, it's great to fellowship with visually impaired people, because it's good to understand these things and understand what other people go through, and understand different insights that you might not know about yourself when you don't get that sort of fellowship.
And that's a perfect lead to where we'll get close to winding things up here. So if there's a blind boy or blind girl, or low vision boy, low vision girl, or family with those kiddos, or adults listening to this interview or your concert, if they were here instead of you talking to me, what would you say to especially those younger folks as they're looking ahead into a life that hasn't unfolded toward whatever their passions are or whatever they want to do? They're standing there, they're young, they're looking ahead with the vision issue. What do you say to them?
Jerron purses his lips, then strokes his glasses.
I'd say do what everybody does. Do what everybody should do. And regardless of who's interested or how hard it is, if you're truly interested in something, pursue it, no matter what it is. Sometimes it can be difficult, but, you know, we're rather fortunate in the 21st century. There are problems, but I think things are best as they've ever been for everybody. In this day and age, we've got the ability to overcome a lot of things. You know, with my struggles with low vision, the only thing that really brought them to the fore and made me feel them was things like driving. You know, it's like, that's the one thing I can't do. And you know, I love driving as a kid, but then my compensation for that was I moved to New York City, where there are people who are 80 years old and have never driven a car and can't fathom it. So I moved to a place where I don't have a disability. You know, I moved to a place where, you know, I could navigate freely and be as independent as I want to be, and pursue my interests. I think that's the big thing for not just low vision people, but for everybody. Certain things you can face in your life can discourage you from pursuing your interests. You might lack certain opportunities, or you might see yourself lacking certain opportunities. But you can overcome anything, you know. I was born with a fair bit of poverty around, you know, and I think that held me back in certain ways, but my folks were always steadfast in that you can do whatever you want to do, seriously, you know, not just as a saying. So you can't do everything, but you can do anything you want to do, especially any one thing. If you really focus on it, you can do any one thing you want to do. You might be able to do a few things. So I'd say find your interest and stick with it, and you'll be set. Once you find your interest and stick with it, whatever problems life throws at you, you can deal with them because you already have a path, and you will orient yourself to do whatever you can do to stay on that path.
Jerron Paxton, you are amazing. And I have loved this time with you. And I know that you are changing lives out there by telling your stories and playing your music and living your life. And I'm so honored that you were willing to spend some time with us for this event. And you keep on keeping on, sir, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
On the stage.
What an evening this has been. From music to stories to going deep in conversation and to remembering that no limits is what this is all about. The students who attend ISBVI deserve that chance to enter a world where there are no limits on their potential. And I'm so proud and honored to be part of this celebration. I want to thank the sponsors who have helped make tonight possible. Without your commitment and belief in this programming, none of this could happen. You are a key part of breaking down those barriers and opening the door for what is to come for the students of ISBVI who are attending now and those who will attend in the future. Thank you for being part of creating No Limits. I also want to tell you, the audience, that this event is just one of a series of events that are tied to No Limits. We've already done things and we will do more. The Indiana Blind Children's Foundation that governs the whole No Limits movement is committed to opportunities where students push out into the community to make arts more accessible for those who are blind and visually impaired. And we're equally committed to bringing you in and celebrating the possibility and potential of all who have the ability to express themselves through the arts. Stay tuned for further opportunities where you can attend and hear about and help support these adventures and these explorations and these times of immense creativity. As a last thought, I want to circle back to my college experience, standing in front of that painting that my professor described as solid black blops and gloops of thick paint and one streak of orange. We are standing in a world where technology and perceptions are opening up for those of us who have disabilities, but we have much further to go. I think of where we are now as that little streak of orange, and where we can be of what that painting actually is underneath all of that blackness that is covering it. Will you join us in envisioning that future where we're not looking at mainly dark things with just a little bit of hope, but where those things are reversed, and instead we see the hope blossoming up and no limits for all of the students who deserve that opportunity? Thank you again for joining us tonight. We hope that this has been a meaningful experience for you. Be safe, be well, and be part of No Limits.
Thank you for joining us tonight. To give, visit indianabcf.org/donate. No Limits Art Series, orange, green, and blue sparks over the O. Thank you to our sponsors. Description written by Cassidy O'Reilly Hahn. Narrated by Chris Snyder. Described by AudioEyes.